Trailers, posters, flyers, people, costumes, cosplayers, swag, Zelda, The Last Guardian, Kojima, VR? Really? Noise, TVs, headsets, plastic, lines, hype trains, money. E3 wrapped up recently with a lot of fascinating ideas, revisiting old franchises, and fully embracing VR with its possibilities, and maybe a hint of nervousness. In the midst of all the mainstream games and information overload, there were a lot of indies to discover. I mean, a lot of indies to discover. This was a really strong year for smaller developers, as it was really hard to nail down a few select indies for me to share on the show. So many, in fact, that I'm gonna split this little video in two. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna make it 3 videos. That's how frickin' strong it was this year for indie games. Disclaimers: all the footage may not reflect the final games. Some of these games are in early stages of development and may play and look better than how they're actually presented, and the possibility that they won't be as good as what's shown here, so hype with caution. So I know this one's been released on PC for a while already, and it already has a huge following. I mean huge! 1.5 million people own this game, holy crap! Believe it or not, I played this for the very first time at the show with the unreleased console version, which is now the fully released console version, which came out earlier this week. For the apparently 5 people who haven't played or heard of this game yet, Prison Architect is like SimCity or Roller Coaster Tycoon, where instead of constructing and managing a city or a theme park, you're in charge of the slammer. The game has a large variety of different maps and environments that are pre-made, where you can start managing your green or gray miles with goals and missions, or you can create your own jailhouse from scratch, constructing everything from prison cells, kitchens, offices for the guards, and even options to give luxury items to prisoners, such as their own kitchen or living room. To make up for the lack of a mouse and keyboard, the interface has been completely redone and streamlined to work with a controller. You can do a variety of different things, such as check on different reports, build different structures, hire new hands, and etc. by using different shortcuts mapped out on the controller. But if you want to do a custom job, you can go in and create different buildings and adding different objects to your map using the thumbstick, or you can use pre-made rooms to plop them right down on the ground quickly. Using the thumbsticks to build your own rooms felt a little bit tedious, at least at first, so it's great to have the option for pre-made rooms, especially in a mission where you're trying to build things quickly. I didn't get a great amount of time with the controls, but after a while I got really used to the interface and it became second nature. After some practice, I could see a lot of people becoming experts and making prisons like a pro. But let's keep it 100 here for a second. These kinds of games are best played on the mouse and keyboard with a PC. Rarely does a console port like this really capture the imagination of wider audiences, simply because of the controller. But to my understanding, the only physical PC copies that were available on the internet have come from the game's own website, and they've been sold out and unavailable. When the console versions come out, they're going to be the only physical copies available to the public. I can see this appealing to different collectors that want to put something physical on their shelf to appreciate the game, or if they don't really play games on a computer and would rather have it in their living room without a Steam box. The controls may not appeal to everybody here, but it's clear that the team put a lot of time and effort into creating the interface to be as friendly as possible with the controller. There's a lot more I can mention here where it really does stack up with SimCity and Roller Coaster Tycoon with its levels of depth, customization, play modes, and interesting design. Local multiplayer has found a really comfortable niche in gaming. The kind of game that's within the Smash Brothers mentality of being perfect for parties and conventions. E3 had a lot of entries made for groups and friends, and the game offering the most unique take on local multiplayer is Chambara. As you can see, the concept is that players are characters made of different solid colors and battle each other where they can blend in completely with their color. They can hide behind their own background and can only be seen if they cross into an area with a different color. The game is a deathmatch where players are given a variety of different sword-like objects, and you have to hit the other players with them before they hit you. When it's just 2 people playing, it's kind of a stealthy moving game where you're trying to anticipate the other person's actions, but when it's 4 players, it's a manic party kill or be killed scenario. The game also encourages a lot of screen cheating to be able to figure out where your enemies are, but it also has a counter to it: the ability to shut your eyes so the other players can't tell where you are. There's an element where you can play mind games with your different opponents using this. It has a nice variety of different levels that you can play in, ranging from large to small, and a lot of objects to customize your character, one of them being a sailor wand, which I thought was a really great touch. Chambara is a game I've known about for a while, and I'm always excited to play it at different events whenever I can. It's a great mix of Twitch-based gameplay with small elements of stealth and mind games to play with your opponents. It's coming out very soon, and I'm glad to see it's finally going to be unleashed out to the wild. If you were a kid growing up in the 90s, you played Myst. Hell, if you were a grown adult in the 90s, you played Myst. Myst being on different computers was almost as mandatory as Solitaire or Minesweeper. And while adventure games like this have grown, flourished, and experimented with a few different takes on the genre, the original creators of Myst have come back to create a modern take on their own genre with Abduction. The game was kickstarted back in 2013, raising an impressive $1.3 million. And playing the game for the first time at the show, the well-managed budget is on full display here. It's set in this kind of dome environment where you can't really escape the sci-fi western elements that the place has to offer. The game in the beginning doesn't really give you a whole lot of backstory into the game, it just plops you right through it in order for you to solve puzzles and discover everything for yourself. You'll be exploring the different area, finding things like minecarts or levers or doors, and small puzzles where you have to figure out the logic behind them. The team so far is making it a bit easier for newer players to get immersed into this genre with two different modes. One is the kind of classic first-person mode that you might find in a regular shooter game, where you can explore freely with the camera just like any other FPS. The game is also going to have something called Node Mode. Node Mode works the same way as a point-and-click adventure. You click forward and it takes you to the next location or node. The transition can happen and have it be instant or fast fading. It's a way for those that are a little bit new to adventure gaming to have more of a fixed angle to be able to narrow down what you're supposed to do in the game. The game also has object-based puzzles where if you move the cursor will change to let you know that you're supposed to interact with the object. I remember fondly exploring the Myst Island, and although the puzzles were really hard back in the day, Abduction seemed to be a little bit easier for me to get through, which I enjoy. If you have fond memories of exploring the island or are a newcomer to this series, Abduction looks like a really promising game so far. You know something that seemed a bit missing at E3 this year? Weird games. Well, there were a few games shown off in the realms of the bizarre, but for the most part it was familiar territory. That's what made GoNNER stand out from the crowd, and even without its weirdness, there's a lot to like about it. You play as a bit of a Frankenstein-like character where you can select which head, body part, and legs that you can have, and they're all grown on trees apparently. The game is a roguelite, or roguelike, rogue-ish? I don't even know what people call it anymore. The levels are procedurally generated where you're inside the body of a whale. Inside, you'll have to shoot your way through the world in order to collect purple squares to make the whale feel a little bit better. If you get hit in this world, the parts of your body will separate, including one for your weapon and another to reload your gun. It's then a bit of a fight to get them all back without a gun or ammo to defend yourself. With the game's minimal art style and strange logic, the presentation and tone stood out from the crowd, as well as the game's ability to explain its mechanics without any dialogue telling you how to play. The style is a bit like Nidhogg with elements of Nuclear Throne, and I suspect that the characters are maybe nods to other indie games out there. It's a challenging game too, where it's difficult to avoid attackers, but you'll be able to find different weapons as you journey through the whale and any other rogue game that's like Rogue. I only got so far in it, but the strange presentation and clever world building here has me really excited for this trip into the bizarre. Roguelike and roguelites are a popular genre, and this brings a really needed fresh take on it. So a lot of game design is about managing limitations to the player. You want them to learn how to move in different and interesting ways. Double Fine took this to the next level by removing your arms, legs, feet, stomach, and body except for just your head. Headlander is a game that has you playing as just a noggin that has the ability to attach themselves onto anything it can control. One of the more pleasant surprises from the show is that you don't just have the ability to play a male's head, but a female's cranium as well. The game's limitations aren't just about being a flying helmet, but in the game, you can't jump. To move vertically, your helmet is equipped with a jetpack to be able to fly around and float everywhere, and if you want to open a door or fight an enemy, you'll have to attach yourself to a body with the right gun or with the right clearance code to get through the sometimes snappy security.
Fine, red access confirmed. Why do I even bother being thorough?
The game has a great amount of character to it, with an art style having heavy inspiration from 60s and 70s sci-fi films, such as Logan's Run, 2001: A Space Odyssey, and Barbarella. It also features a very strong voice cast to it, with Earl, the main voice that you'll be hearing throughout the game, played by John Lithgow, giving a great raspy performance as the game's Atlas, uttering "Would you kindlys."
I know y'all got a lot of questions, but there ain't no point in trying to talk, because you ain't got no lungs.
It also has a fair amount of challenge to it, where the combat system has you getting hit and losing your body, and you'll have to find a replacement one before facing the ultimate headache. It also has a lot of good potential for puzzle solving here, with a number of different objects that you can use in order to open doors. The game has a great sense of humor, a high level of polish to its presentation, and its limitations to the player make it one of my most anticipated indies to come out this year. Can't wait for this one. When it comes to MOBA games or the Dragon Age series, I'm very much a newcomer to the genre. The only one I've played a lot of is Inquisition, which was fun, but after a while the amount of quests and missions that I had to do just felt so overwhelming and listy. I'm a noob when it comes to MOBAs, but Masquerada, Songs, and Shadows felt like a welcome change of pace to the item. It's a tactical RPG set in a Venetian fantasy world. It's inspired by classics of the genre, such as Baldur's Gate or Neverwinter Nights, where you're in a 2.5D space. You'll fight enemies with a variety of attacks that require cooldown periods, each having different elemental attacks to them, with advantages and disadvantages with the space and the range of each attack. You also have the ability to stop time and plan specific attacks for your characters to execute as soon as you start time, a la Dragon Age, or wherever Dragon Age got that idea from first. And like I said, I'm a newbie when it comes to this kind of genre of game, and what I've described sounds pretty typical of the genre's threads. Something that I appreciate out of this game is that it's going to be a mostly linear adventure. Oh, there's certainly going to be side quests here and there, but for the most part it's a pretty straightforward adventure. Sometimes I don't want a huge world with a seemingly endless list of stuff that I have to do. To me, part of how this game stands out is its presentation. Most, if not all, of the dialogue is spoken with some really talented voice members, such as Jennifer Hale, Matthew Mercer, and recently announced was Felicia Day and Ashley Birch. The story, dialogue, and voice acting are a big highlight here, as we get a lot of witty banter with our main characters uncovering the game's story. And speaking as a newcomer to these kinds of games, I got a pretty good hang of how to control the fights and plan out all the different attacks and abilities, with this being one of my first forays into the genre. Foray isn't a word, is it? It's something I could definitely see myself getting addicted to and learning all the ins and outs between its combat system. I enjoyed the game quite a bit, and if any of this looks interesting to you, the game actually has a public demo available on Steam for you to play right now. Go on, download it. It's free! This is ClusterTruck, which isn't just one of the best names for a game at the show, but a really unique concept. You're on top of a bunch of moving trucks, endlessly moving forward and backward and every which word you can think of. Navigating through the mess of trucks all over the place, you simply have to get to the goal. It's a brutally difficult game where it can take a lot of trial and error to figure out the right path and timing to dodge your way through this cluttered mess of speed and chaos. It has a very Super Meat Boy mentality of dying instantly and having you restart constantly until you get it right. You're also given a mechanic to slow down time so you can examine your surroundings or hit some really hard jumps here and there. And thankfully the hit detection is pretty forgiving and you can pull yourself up from different ledges, but trust me, it's gonna take a while to get to the end of each level. And since the slowdown mechanic in this game is a bit similar to Superhot's slowdown mechanic, as an April Fool's joke, the developers released SuperTruck, a parody mode where the trucks only move when you move, just like Superhot's mechanic. The team contacted the developer team for HOT with their blessing and some of their assets to make the joke game. It turns the experience into a bit of a puzzle game where you have to explore your surroundings to figure out where to go next. It's great, and available as a free download right now. It was made as a joke, but it's a legitimately great mode that I'd love to see in the final game, or maybe as an add-on later on. The game is hard as balls, but with some determination and maybe a bit of patience, it's a rewarding experience, if not a really crazy ride unlike anything I've ever seen. out of one crazy ride and into another with a real gem of a game. Klang is an action rhythm platformer set in a super techno dance club wonderland where you play as a hero with 2 tuning forks for swords. The main concept is that you fend off attackers on all sides to the rhythm of the music while moving around in an area avoiding different obstacles. There are areas dedicated to just platforming and others that are both combat and platforming. This is a game that I've never heard of before, and the first time I played it, I actually got chills. The look, atmosphere, music, presentation, and gameplay got me pumped and didn't let go. It's a glorious, energizing spectacle in the spirit of electronica and dance clubs that it's paying homage to. Klang is digital electrolytes. So far, the controls are responsive, and at times it didn't strictly follow the beat of the music, but it definitely made you feel like you were there. The game wasn't too harsh on your timing if you miss a few notes. The game will have some variety in bonus stages and different difficulty levels that you can play through. One of them being Nightcore mode, which... oh my goodness. The art direction and story are also highlights here. The game had a lot of really memorable images that stick out in my head. The giant eyeball staring at you, enemies taunting you, the goddess attacking, and all of this is done with very little dialogue to speak of. It definitely helps that the music is all by Blind, a composer specializing in dance music and a frequent contributor to game shops. But even more amazing to consider is that besides the music, the game was all developed by one person, Tinimations. He's a one-man army in Norway who's worked on the game for about 2.5 years. It's astounding to me that all this was done by one person over this time, and it's in such great shape. Klang is a highly impressive indie game and one of my absolute favorites from the show, and no one knows about it yet. Hopefully this video changed that a bit. You know what? I'm just gonna wait a moment for you to ingest all of this. This is Manifold Garden, formerly called Willy Kerr's Relativity. It's a puzzle game about geometry and gravity, where you have the ability to shift your gravity from the wall or a surface that you're right next to, and change it to the one you're aiming at. In the early parts of the game, you'll have a few block moving puzzles where you have to move them around the environment and figure out how to manipulate the world around you to move them into the right space. Each block goes with one color that represents a wall, and you may have to move the blocks with each other using the game's mechanics. You then go outside to reveal the big, abstract world just waiting for you to uncover the puzzles and mysteries hidden within. Even the huge blocks around you are all interconnected as one huge puzzle. The game has a simple and minimal look to it that takes an obvious inspiration from MC Escher and a variety of different architecture influences. In the beginning of the project, the lead developer, Willy Kerr, was a one-man dev, making the game as an experiment with Unity's 3D engine, until he was able to hire more hands to his team. It's a game that's been in years of development, and its level of polish and consistent 60 FPS frame rate really shows that effort. He's developed different rooms that must have taken some serious inspiration to make, with some tricky ideas to how to solve the puzzles hidden within them. A nifty feature is that if you fall off the edge of one of these worlds, you then loop to the very top of the world where you last fell down from. The game also comes with a photo mode, where you can take different pictures of the world around you, and you can even change the pictures' color palettes. And the world just looks so incredible that you'll want to take pictures of it. It's a game that I've been itching to get the full version released to see what surprises and just the breathtaking worlds and designs the game has in store, and hopefully the wait won't be too long. One of the more serious-minded adventure games featured in the show was another student project called Project Perfect Citizen. Fans of games like Sybil, Digital Love Story, and Papers, Please will feel right at home here. It's a game that takes place in a 90s computer where you play as a member of a government surveillance program that can hack into a person's computer and find evidence that that person has committed a crime. You first have access to various message boards from other people to help narrow down suspicious persons based on their conversations, and then into their computer files to find any foul play. It's very much a visual novel-style format of explaining different documents to find out the story of the person you're investigating. There are also different files with restricted access, so you have to dig and find info to guess the passwords in order to gain access and progress through the story. There's a lot of interesting things going on with the story here, but there's plenty of moral ambiguity with the actions that you take. The people you investigate here have hidden demons about them, where their actions can stem from an abusive childhood or victims of crimes that their families have committed. No one in the game is a mustache-twirling terrorist, but well-developed characters that are trying to deal with some real-life issues. Some of the stories are based on real-life occurrences, such as the politician who has a secret to hide. The game has a very simple interface, but the complexity works here to fit with the kind of disconnection you have from learning all about somebody's life just from their computer. It can also be kind of tricky to find out what you're supposed to be looking for and which items you'll need to convict the person. But even if you pick the wrong items and screw up, you still find out a lot about these characters. But this is another one where you don't have to take my word for it, as an early version of the game is available right now on the game's itch.io page. If it sounds interesting to you, go check it out. Again, free! And that's the first video on games I have to share from E3. I've got a heck of a lot more, so feel free to subscribe to stay tuned to this channel to be updated on when those videos will be coming out, and thank you very much for watching. Hope you found something in this video that you're looking really forward to.